Alright, I'm about to show you a film that I did on sand bending steel tubing last fall. What I needed to do was make a fairly tight 180-degree bend. It was a lot to ask of the sand bending. If you were doing something wider or not quite 180 degrees, I think it would be much easier. But that's what I needed to do, so that's what I did. If I had done, this was my second attempt. If I had done it a third attempt, I would have done it a little bit different, and at the end of the film, I'll tell you what I would have done differently. Alright, today we're going to do some sand bending. I have to make a new rear seat hoop for CB550 I'm working on. And I want to try sand bending it into a 180 degree U. So what we have is I've made a template here of the shape I need, and I've got my tubing, and we're going to heat it up over here. I'm going to make a little charcoal pit, and I'm going to heat it up to cherry hot, put it over here, and just bend it. Now, what I'm going to do so that the tubing doesn't collapse is I'm going to fill it with dry sand. I've taken the sand, I've dried it in the oven, a couple pounds of sand on a cookie sheet, and put it in the oven at 300 degrees for a couple hours, and that dried it out pretty good. And I did, I don't know, about 20 pounds of it, and that's going to be plenty to fill this little tube. I'm going to fill it up, I'm going to tamp it down, and I'm going to weld a plug in it to keep it all, together. And then we're going to heat it up and bend it and see how it works out. Okay, so I've got my tube. I've got a funnel on here, I've got all my dry sand over here. We're just going to fill this puppy up, tamp it down. Alright, that's pretty well tamped. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld this plug in here, and then we'll start up the fire and see if we can get this bent. Alright, so I've got my my pipe in here. I've started a briquette fire. I'm going to let those get really hot, and then I'm going to spread them out and get this thing cherry hot. Now, alright, couple things. Number one, I tried this once before, just using MAP gas, and I just couldn't get it hot enough over a wider range, and it didn't work very well. So I saw a guy do this with exhaust pipes where, he builds a fire. So we're going to try that. The reason I had dried the sand was if the sand is wet in there, as the water in the sand turns to steam, it could blow out the pipe, and I don't know, you could have an explosion or something. So to be on the safe side, you want
My daddy cooked it.
I did. I cooked it in the oven, and now it's nice and dry. I haven't had a problem doing that before. I don't expect to see a problem here. Okay, so what would I have done differently? My main problem was that when I brought that tubing around, I couldn't get it 100% parallel. It was kind of like this, and the rest of the tubing was kind of bending this way. So it came up, I had a perfect first half, and then it started going like this. So two things I would have done differently. First is, I would have slipped a piece of tubing over the tubing I was working on, so that when I bent it, it would put all the pressure right here, and I could maybe control it better. You probably saw me do that with a block of wood. I just think it would have been easier to slip this over, but you know, I thought of that too late. The other thing I would have done was, on my wooden buck, I wouldn't have made the sides parallel. I would have made the final side curve in more, just a little bit. So when I brought that around, I could bend it in and it would spring back, because I was finding that with the parallel side I couldn't get it, you know, I just couldn't get it and it would spring back a little bit. That's what I would do differently. I would put my buck in a little bit and I would use this tubing. Now it worked out, and I'll show you what it looked like. Alright, here's the CB550, and here is the new seat hoop. It ended up working fine. Like I said, I had to persuade it a little bit to get it to work properly, but in the end it worked out fine. Ultimately I have to sell this because I've got this Beamer project that is really going to be a bigger project and something I'll ride more, and that's my old XS.